Messerschmitt 109 was constructed around a Daimler-Benz liquid-cooled V12 engine, a power plant that was similar in concept to the British Rolls-Royce Merlin. As the 109 evolved over the course of the war, so did its engine. With the G model, the Luftwaffe sought to maximize speed by substituting the more powerful Daimler-Benz 605 engine. A redesigned cylinder block increased the engine's performance to 1,475 horsepower at takeoff. Unfortunately, the heavier engine required that the structure and landing gear be reinforced, all of which led to a heavier airplane with higher wing loading and decreased handling. However, this variant of the 109 carried an additional water methanol power booster, which could be used in bursts to temporarily increase performance to 1,800 horsepower. The G6 featured a basic armament of two nose-mounted 13mm MG-131 machine guns, as well as a single lightweight 30mm Mk-108 cannon firing through the air screw. Over the course of the war, the Luftwaffe was forced to steadily increase the firepower of its fighters. Unfortunately, the basic design of the 109 stressed a light airframe with thin wings that were unsuitable for housing internal guns of any significant size. As a compromise, some 109s were provided with the means to carry gun pods under the wings. In addition, a field conversion kit allowed the Gustav to carry one centerline 250-kilogram bomb. By any standard, the Bf-109 cockpit was small and cramped. The low canopy provided little headroom, and scanning the skies could be something of a chore. Visibility was also a concern for 109 pilots. The rear quarter view was partially obscured by the armored plating and firewall behind the pilot. All-around visibility was further hindered by the supports between the many window panes that made up the canopy. This was partially alleviated by the development of the so-called Galland hood. This canopy removed many of the supports and replaced them with molded sheets of glass. When introduced into combat in July of 1941, the Focke-Wulf 190 proved itself superior to contemporary British fighters and provided the Luftwaffe with a substantial, if brief, competitive edge. At the heart of the fighter was the BMW 801, a 14-cylinder radial engine that was chosen less for its ability than the fact that it could be made available in large numbers. Nonetheless, the 190's excellent performance quickly dispelled the myth that a bulky radial engine couldn't be made to compete with the sleeker inline liquid-cooled engines of the day. The 801D engine in this A8 variant was rated at 1,700 horsepower at takeoff. The engine was further assisted by a GM1 nitrous oxide booster, which provided higher compression and increased power in short bursts. The standard armament of the Focke-Wulf 190 consisted of two 13mm MG-131 machine guns in the upper cowling, a pair of 20mm MG-151 cannons in the wing roots, and another pair of 20mm cannons outboard of the landing gear. The aircraft's firepower could be increased by removing some of the wing cannon and mounting an array of gun pods below the wings. The Focke-Wulf could also carry up to 500 kilograms of bombs. The A8 offered the pilot a decent cockpit layout, excellent armor protection, and good all-around visibility. Like the American P-47, however, the wide radial engine obscured the pilot's view whenever the airplane achieved any positive angle of attack. The canopy was mounted on rails and could be rolled back in flight. It was also rigged with small charges and could be jettisoned in an emergency, allowing for an even quicker escape. The UMO-4B turbojets powering the Me-262 were rushed into production before the underlying technology had been perfected. The engine required delicate handling of the throttle. Pouring on the gas too quickly could burn out the turbine, too slowly, and an engine flameout might occur. To top it off, the UMO had an extremely short service life. On average, an overhaul would have to be conducted after just 25 hours of operation. Nonetheless, the 1,850 pounds of static thrust created by each engine provided the fighter with unprecedented power. In the role of an air superiority fighter, the Me-262 carried a very heavy armament of 4 30mm Mk-108 cannons. Attempts were also made to arm the jet with 12 R-4M air-to-air rockets under each wing. The results proved this to be a perfect marriage of weapon and platform. However, the rockets, like the jets themselves, were never manufactured in great enough quantities to affect the course of the war. When configured as a fighter bomber, only the upper two cannons were fitted onto the airplane. Centerline racks allowed the airplane to carry two 250-kilogram bombs. Sitting high above the fuselage, the Me-262 pilot commanded a superb 360-degree view of the combat environment. The reinforced blown glass canopy and clean lines of the airframe provided the best visibility of any German fighter of the war. With the many gauges and controls required to operate two turbojet engines, the cockpit was relatively complex by 1944 standards. Next to the office of a modern jet fighter, however, the Me-262 cockpit appears to have a certain antiquated charm.